Okay, we're going to look at a mimer from the Alter Rebbe on this week's parsha, Chukas, where in the parsha it speaks about an episode where the Jewish people complain, believe it or not. Um, this time they complain again about the food that they have in the desert, the manna that was falling from heaven, that was being boring food, no water in the desert. They complain yet again. And as a result of that, a plague of snakes appeared to them out of the desert and started biting them, serpents and snakes. At which point, they realized that they'd done something wrong. And they came to Moshe and said, sorry, we complained against you and against Hashem. We did the wrong thing. Please take away these snakes. So Moshe prays to Hashem, who tells him, create a copper serpent, make the figure of a serpent out of copper, put it on top of a stick, a pole, and the people should look up to it. And whoever stares up at this copper serpent will be healed. If you've been bitten by a snake, look up at the serpent and you'll be healed. And he does so, and it works. From here, they say we have the symbol of the medical world. There's a pole with a serpent on it from this healing in the Torah. Which sounds very strange. Like it sounds like some magical thing. You look up at this figure, seems almost idolatrous. How could it be? So indeed, the Mishnah in Tractate Rosh Hashanah asked this question: Does this serpent in the sky heal or give life? How's it possible? So the Mishnah says, rather, when they looked up and they subjugated their hearts to God in heaven, they were healed. So it wasn't this magical copper serpent that healed them. It was the act of looking up that healed them. And so putting the serpent up in the sky caused them to look upwards, up to their Father in heaven, and that's what healed them. Which then leads to the obvious question: so what do you need the serpent for? What do you need the copper serpent for in the first place? This is what the Alter Rebbe deals with in this mimer. On the page there, 122, on the left at the bottom. The verse says that Moshe made a copper serpent, he placed it on the top of a pole, and it was that if a person was bitten by the snake, he stared at the copper serpent and he lived. And the Mishnah in Rosh Hashanah says, it was through the Jewish people looking upwards and subjugating their hearts to their Father in heaven. That's what brought the healing, not, of course, a copper snake. So then we ask the question, what do we need the snake for? It should say, if you're bitten by a snake, look up to heaven, and you'll be healed. Why do you need a snake to be placed up in the sky in order to be healed? What's going on here? And what does it mean? They stared upwards, not just they looked. Like is lirois or royas to look, royim klapei ma'ala, but histaklos means they stared upwards. Staring means an intense look upwards. But anyway, it says in the laws of davening, that your eyes should be faced downwards, your heart should be pointed upwards, meaning your intention is upwards to Hashem, but your eyes are supposed to look down when you daven, not up. Looking up is considered somewhat haughty, looking down in a humble way. That's how we're supposed to daven. And yet here, in this particular form of davening, of healing, they had to look up. Not just look up, but stare upwards. Why? What's going on? Why is it different? To understand all this, we'll first examine the whole point of why a soul came down into this world. Because if the whole point of our existence is to cleave to our Creator with love and awe, and that primarily happens during davening. When we daven, it's when we connect to our source. Shatevis em yosef krovim lahavanas adam, that the words we say in davening, we understand, we can understand what we're saying, and by contemplating what we're saying, we feel a connection to Hashem. But certainly before the soul came down into this world, and also after the soul leaves this world and leaves the body, it must be way deeper in its connection to Hashem than it is during a lifetime. If we come down into this world to connect to Hashem, and that happens during davening, well, surely we were more connected to Hashem before we came down into this world. And after we leave this world, we're more connected to Hashem. Shaguf eino manicho la'avodas Hashem, because our body doesn't allow us to serve Hashem. On the contrary, our body, because of its coarse physicality, it distracts our neshama and drags it into enjoying physical and material things. So if the point of our existence to come down to this world is to connect to Hashem, that makes no sense. We were more connected before we came down to Hashem, and we didn't have the body blocking. As we will be more connected when we leave this world and we go back to connecting to Hashem. So what is gained by coming down here? Even though while we're in a body, the neshama has no interest in the physical distractions, because it's coming from Hashem, it's a part of Hashem, and it just wants to be connected to Hashem. And yet, against its will, down here in this world, we connect to material and physical things, even sometimes immoral and inappropriate things. So what's going on? What's the point of coming down here? So to answer this question, if our soul's mission is to connect to Hashem, why did Hashem send us down here to this world, where this world Hashem is harder to connect to, and there are distractions that the body provides, and leave us in heaven where we were better off? To answer this, it says in the Zohar, somebody who does not transform bitterness into sweet has no portion in this world at all. In the dramatic terminology, the Zohar always uses very extreme and dramatic terms, that somebody who doesn't transform bitterness into sweetness has no place in this world. Meaning, the whole point of existence, the whole point we're here is to transform something. The soul in heaven had nothing to transform. There was just sweetness. It was all good. It's only down here, when we inhabit a body and we have the physical world that distracts us, that we have bitterness, darkness, negativity to transform, to turn around. And that's what we're here for. That's why the soul came down into this world, to turn darkness into light, bitterness into sweet. After the small print brackets, Ki zeh kol ha'adam lo nivra ela b'shvil zeh. The human being was created just for this purpose, to transform darkness into light. As he's going to now explain what that means, and in our avodas Hashem, how we transform darkness into light. Rabbi's rishon lo yahayu mispalim klal. He goes into a little bit of history here. During the times of the first temple, they didn't really daven. Davening was not such a thing. Of course, when you needed something, you asked Hashem for it. But the main avodas Hashem, the main way of serving Hashem, was through the sacrificial service in the temple. So davening was not such a thing. Yes, we said the Shema every day, but Shema is not davening. Shema is a statement of faith. The idea of Shemona Esrei, of the Amidah, that didn't exist in the first temple. Even in the second temple, the men of the Great Assembly, the leaders of the time, they instituted a short daily prayer, and that was it. There was a little brief prayer that they would say in those times. Yet we have a whole davening, and we said that davening is the time of connecting to Hashem. Davening is the main time we connect to Hashem. Certainly, they also, in the first temple times and second temple times, their avodah was also to transform darkness into light. We do it in davening; they did it in different ways. And as he's going to explain, the idea is like this: that there's a general rule that judgment, harshness, is sweetened by going to the source.
Can't leave sit at home. He's got he's cognitive.
No worries.
So is it okay?
More than welcome. Come in.
Thank you.
Sure. Most welcome.
Hello.
So the rule is that the judgment is sweetened in its source. This is a general rule which we're going to have to understand. Judgment, which means negativity, harshness, darkness, bitterness, to sweeten something that is bitter, you have to go to its source and see that it's not really bitter. When something looks negative, you have to find its source to see that it's not really negative. If you want to transform an experience, you have to go to its source. And what he's going to explain is the whole experience of davening. Davening is to meditate and contemplate on the negativity that we have in our lives and what its real source is. If you can connect it to its source, you will sweeten that which is bitter, as he's going to explain. Because any negativity, any evil, any harshness that there is in the world, its source that gives it life and existence is good, is positive. Anything negative, anything dark, anything difficult, anything bad in the world, its source is goodness. It comes from a good place. It has to, because everything comes from the one. The bottom line, on the page, the last words, Kemashal hazoyna im ben hamelech hamavur, over the page, bezoyar. Like the metaphor of the prostitute and the prince that is brought in the Zohar, the great work of the Zohar, where the Zohar it talks about the existence of evil in the world, and particularly within ourselves. We have a Yetzer Hara, an evil inclination. We have an internal Satan that tries to draw us away from doing the right thing, to do evil. Our negative voice. The Zohar says, how's it possible for there to be a negative energy within us? We're created by Hashem. Satan is an angel created by Hashem. How could it go against him? How could it try and draw us to sin and do the wrong thing? So the Zohar says a beautiful metaphor of a king who had a son, a prince, who had grown up in the palace with the best education and the best experiences. And one day he was going to be the future king. But his father wanted to see if he really was everything that he stacked up to be. Was he really a good person? Or was it just that he's never been tested? So the king hired a prostitute to meet this prince and try to seduce him. The prince knew better, but he's going to be tested. And so the king asked this woman, please use your wiles to try and seduce my son, the prince. The Zohar says, so what is her job? Her job is to do her best to try and make the prince sin. But what does she want? She doesn't want him to listen. She wants the prince to withstand her temptations and prove himself to be a really valid and moral person. That's what she really wants, because that's what the king wants. But she has to do her job and try to seduce him. So she has this dual identity in a way. On the one hand, she's the one trying to bring the prince down externally. But internally, on a deeper level, she doesn't want that to happen, because she knows what will make the king happy, that the prince doesn't listen to her. So that's what she really wants. But she can't let that on. She has to do her best to try and make him sin, because otherwise she's not doing the job that the king hired her for. This, the Zohar says, is the reality of evil and negativity in the world. Hashem has employed Satan to do a job, and that is to try and seduce us to do the wrong thing. He gives each one of us an internal Satan, a Yetzer Hara, which is the voice inside us that whispers us to do the wrong thing and pushes us to follow evil temptations. That is a servant of Hashem with a job. The job is to try and seduce us. But Satan himself doesn't want us to listen to him, because he wants to do his job, and that is to seduce us, and we should not listen, and that will make the king happy. That will make Hashem happy, because that's what he wants. But Satan can't let that on, so Satan does his job correctly and really tries to seduce us. That is the true reality of evil in the world. Evil is a servant of Hashem, in its source. But down here, its job is to be the opposite of Hashem, to pull us away from Hashem. So it's got this duality to it. As he explained at the top of page Samach Beis there. This prostitute in the metaphor of the Zohar, her real desire, her real yearning is the prince should not listen to her. And that will make her happier that she fails in her mission. Because then the king will love her, will be so happy with her. She's done her job and she failed, and her failure is her success. Because the prince has been proven to be a righteous person. However, if she's successful to seduce the prince, the king's not going to be happy. Even though that was what her job is. She did her job, but the king doesn't want the prince to fail. The king wants the prince to succeed. So her job is this split duality of wanting to fail, but having to try her best. And that's what it says in the Talmud, that Satan, when Satan tries to seduce us, they mean it. Satan means it l'shem shemayim, for heaven's sake. So to Pnina, who was the sister of Chana was childless. Pnina had children, and she made fun of Chana. Oh, you don't have children. She taunted her because she wanted her to daven, to do something. Chana was making peace with it. So she did something mean l'shem shemayim. So the Gemara says, so this is also what Satan does. Satan does something mean, tries to seduce us, but it's l'shem shemayim. It's because Satan wants us to overcome, to do the bidding of Hashem. And yet, elsewhere in the Gemara, it talks about Satan, that he put his eyes on the first temple and decided, I want this to be destroyed. Satan wanted the temple to be destroyed, and so he went and seduced the people to do wrong, so the temple should be destroyed. Meaning, he has these evil designs. Satan's not this holy angel; it's an evil angel. It sounds like he was jealous. He had a bad attitude to the temple, which was holiness. He didn't want holiness in the world. He wanted to get rid of it. So, what is it? Does he want to get rid of the temple and holiness, or does he want us to do the right thing and not listen to him? The idea is the source of evil, the source of Satan and evil in the world that gives it life is good, is holiness. As it says in the Zohar that we're discussing, in the Zohar there it says, can you have a servant who rebels against his master? Of course, there are many servants who do rebel against their master, but that's talking about human servants who are separate entities from their master. And so a human servant can rebel against its master. But servants of Hashem, angels of Hashem, who get their entire existence and life force from Hashem, have no other source of existence other than Hashem. He gives life to everything. How could there be a life force of something that opposes Hashem? Hashem gives existence to everything. How can there be anything in the world that opposes Hashem? That's what the Zohar is asking. And that's what the Zohar answers with his metaphor. The metaphor of the prostitute with the prince, which is, yes, it seems like it's opposing Hashem, but that's its job. That's what Hashem asked it to do. And it itself, Satan himself, wants to fail deep down. But on the surface, he does his job.
Is that the same with the wish to destroy the temple? Is it implying that
Correct.
Hashem's?
No, that Satan's job is I've got to get this temple destroyed. I've got to get holiness to be banished from the world.
You're saying that any spiritual power has no life force other than godliness.
No, so Satan's job is to try and get the temple destroyed. Does he want the temple destroyed? No.
No.
So in his source, he doesn't want it. Down here, he's evil. And so he's out to get us. He's out to make us sin, out to rid the world of holiness. That's
Yeah. Two degrees there. Same. The prostitute and the king's son, and the wish to destroy the temple are both.
prostitute. That's a marshal.
Work the same thing at work.
Correct. Correct. So what the life force that gives existence to evil and negativity in its source above is good. When it's translated down here into this world, it is absolute evil. Satan is evil. Is trying to make evil. That's all. There's nothing no redeeming feature of Satan. Satan is evil. But in the source that gives it life is good. So this applies to both spiritual evil and also material evil, bad things that happen. It's in our internal evil, the Satan that's inside of us, that tries to bring us down spiritually, but it also applies to bad things that happen in the world. That bad, negative experiences in the world down here are bad. That's what they are. In their source, in the divine source, they have to come from good because everything comes from good. Everything comes from Hashem. Can't come from anywhere else. So just like there's this dichotomy, Satan down here is evil. You can't befriend Satan. You can't say, I know it. I know what you're doing. Satan is evil and out to get you. But if you contemplate on the fact that in the source, he's only there to make me stronger, so I should overcome it. So then you realize that Satan is not really against me. Satan is a part of Hashem's picture to make me stronger and closer to him. But there's a dichotomy there. There's down here and there's up there. Same as the prince. If the prince would know that this woman who's trying to seduce me is hired by my father to test me, the game's up. There's no temptation anymore. I know what's really happening here. But down here, but he's not going to realize that. He doesn't know that on the down here level. He's seeing this woman who's trying to seduce him. That's true of our inner spiritual negativity, the bad within us. It's also true of bad in the world, bad things that happen. Down here, it's bad. It's suffering. It's terrible. In its source, its true inner meaning, it comes from Hashem. And if we know that when we're going through a negative experience, we approach it differently, as he's now going to explain. So when a person experiences some type of suffering, God forbid, you're going through a bad time. You should contemplate on this. Don't judge the situation according to the way the eyes see it. Sherahu, this is bad. It's just bad. The truth is, the source of this experience is good. Because from Hashem, no bad comes. Only complete good. The only thing is, I can't experience this as good because there are some good levels that cannot come down into this lowly world. And so we experience it as a lack, as a void, as a lack of good. So it's negative. But that's not because it is negative, it's because there is a goodness that is too high for this world. And so we experience it as the negative, the lack. Now again, there's a dichotomy here. Down here, I'm suffering. It's bad. It's negative. I can name it that, and I can see it as that way. But I shouldn't conclude that means Hashem is angry at me, and so he's sending me bad things. No, Hashem is sending me good. There's good that I can't experience right now as good. There's a goodness that is too high for me right now. And so I experience it as negative, But in the grand scheme, it is good. It comes from good, and it will be good. I just can't experience that now. After the small print brackets, V'zeh Yisur Yisranika. That's why it says in Tehillim that God has afflicted me. God is afflicting me. And the name of God that's used in there is Yud and Hey, not the full name Yud and Hey and Vav and Hey, but just the Yud and Hey of Hashem, that Hashem afflicts me. Shu b'tchilas Hashem, tchilas hiskalusai. It's the beginning of Hashem's name, which means the beginning of revelation, the higher level of revelation that hasn't been translated down here. Shadain loy bali de gilui. It hasn't been revealed. It's a level that has not been revealed, not being experienced. It's not something we can relate to. So when you can't relate to it, you feel the emptiness, the void. But actually, it's not a void. It's Hashem giving you something higher, something that's beyond being translated in this world. And so therefore it remains above. B'zeh nikra michle dakik, shehu be'emes chayusa yizbarach. And this is called in the Zohar the subtle food. There's food that you can chew on, and there's like a subtle nourishment that is beyond being experienced down here. There are some goodnesses, there are some blessings that we can't taste the blessing, we can't taste the sweetness. It's beyond. It's too subtle. It's too elevated for us. So we feel hungry, we feel lack, we feel there's a void there. That's not really what's going on. On a deeper level, it's a blessing. Zeh b'chol moedcha, k'maimer tov ma'od tov ze malach ha'chayim, ma'od ze malach ha'maves. Shu tov ma'od b'li shir ugvul, el shadayin loy bali de gilui ve'ena musig. That's what it means, that you should love Hashem b'chol ma'odecha. B'chol ma'odecha is translated as all of your might, but the word ma'od means very. Very. What does it mean to love Hashem with all your very? Well, it doesn't seem to make sense. So he quotes, when Hashem created the world, it said he looked at the world and he said, "V'nei tov ma'od," it is very good. The Midrash on this says, good is the Malach HaChaim, the angel of life. Tov, but ma'od, very good, is the Malach HaMavis, is the angel of death. What does that mean? That doesn't seem to make sense. Because the word ma'od means very. Very means infinite, beyond. There's good, and then there's very good. Very means way more. There's a good that you can experience, and you experience it as good. That's the angel of life. That's when things are pleasant and good and happy. Then there's a beyond type of good. There's a good that is beyond what we can handle, an infinite good. Infinite means it's beyond our capabilities, beyond our channels of acceptance. We can't feel it. That's the Malach HaMavis. That's the angel of death. That's negativity in the world. It all comes from the same place. Okay, sorry, I've skipped around a little bit. We're on the line that starts with the words Shadayin lo nizgal hakol, Shadayin. See the word Shadayin is like halfway down the page, and then V'zeu inyan Nachem ish gamzu. This is the story of Nachem ish gamzu. Nachem ish gamzu. Ish gamzu means the man who said gamzu. Everything that happened, he said gamzu l'tova. This is also good. This is also good. Whatever happened to him, including terrible things, gamzu l'tova. It's all good. Shahaya omer gamzu l'tova. He would say, this is also good. Mibnei shahaya mizbonen be'emes shesher sharahu tov. Because what he was able to do was contemplate on every negative experience he had and meditate on the fact that this is also good. Its source is good. Everything's from Hashem. There's good that I can experience, that's revealed, and then there's a bigger good that I can't experience. So it comes out as bad. But it's really good. He would contemplate on this. And what he did in his meditation, he would lift the experience up to its source, l'makam ayin, to the place of nothingness. And there he could change the expression of this negative thing, that it should actually come down as good. K'mayim Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa, Misha Amal Hashem v'yadlik. Like the sage Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa said once, one Shabbos there was no oil to light candles. He was so poor, and so he told his wife, I think, or his daughter, put vinegar, put vinegar in to light. She said vinegar. So he said the same God that makes oil light will make vinegar light. You can go and try that and see if it works. And it probably won't. But Rabbi Shimon ben Dosa, he was able to say, okay, down here oil lights, vinegar doesn't. But it all comes from the same God. He was able to connect to the source of everything, where everything's the same. Oil and vinegar, it's all the same. It's all from Hashem. And he would bring that down, so vinegar would light. So to Nochamish Gamzu, he would have a negative experience. He would say Gamzu L'Tova. He wouldn't just say it. He would contemplate Gamzu L'Tova. This is good. This. Because where does this come from? It comes from a higher place. It comes from Hashem. And when in his connecting to the source of the experience, he was so connected to that source. In that source, everything's potential. Things could go in any way. So it doesn't have to translate into this negativity. He could bring down from that place so things became good. And in the stories that we hear about Rachamish Gamzu, whatever looked like something bad ended up something good. In this world. That's why he was unique. Well, because we say Gamzu Tova, we don't really believe it. Anyone can say Gamzu L'Tova. You don't call him Nachamish Gamzu because he said Gamzu L'Tova. This is also good. Anyone can say that. He believed it. He really believed it. He connected to that idea. With no doubt. There was no doubt and no cynicism. It was real, and he made it real, and he brought it down to be real. That's what was unique about him. Not that he just believed it and said it, but he believed it and saw it. Gamzu L'Tova. After little brackets there. V'zeu inyan atfilah. Shebegufa adam ba'olam hazeh. This is actually what davening is really supposed to be. While we inhabit a physical body and we're in this physical world, we experience all type of stuff down here in this world, both within ourselves, the negativity in ourselves, and the negativity in the world, things that happen to us and around us. And davening is contemplating the source of everything, connecting everything to its source. That's what we're supposed to be doing. Because the neshama, as it's inhabiting a body, suffers pains and suffering. Because the soul just wants to connect to its source. And the body doesn't let. Like the Shekhinah itself, the divine presence who has to give life to this world, including evil in this world. So to our soul gives life to our body, including the evil of our body, the negative that our body experiences and does. So too, our body, our soul is forced to give life to our body. But the soul doesn't want to live for itself. The reason the soul comes down is not for itself. The soul didn't need to come down. Remember, the soul came from heaven. The soul doesn't have to come down. The whole reason the soul came down is for the body, to raise the body from the dust, from the negativity, from the darkness that it's stuck in. That's why the soul came down into a body. And so in purifying and elevating our body meaning all our lowly traits and our negative attributes and the things we've done wrong and the negative things that we experience, you have to purify it like purifying silver. That when you're purifying silver, the more the dross is mixed into the silver, the more fire you need and heat you need to burn out the negativity, the dross, the impurities of the silver. So too, our mission is to purify our body from its Yetzer, from its evil. To bring it up to its source. Where's the Yetzer? Where are you from? You're from Hashem. So I've got this Yetzer, this evil inclination telling me to do the wrong thing. Who are you? You're an emissary of Hashem here trying to make me stronger, to test me, to see what I'm really about. That's what you really are. When I contemplate that, when I connect the Yetzer Hara to its source, it's not a Yetzer Hara anymore. It's not evil. It's not bad. It's a part of the same theme. Commercial ben Melech Imazoin, like the metaphor we said earlier of the prostitute and the prince. If the prince recognizes who this woman really is, the game is up. V'chol ma sheyesh taruvas Rabbi Yosef tzarich lahafrid al dei eish yoser gadol v'chazak b'tfilah the David b'koinai. But it depends how intertwined this negativity is. When you're separate from it, when you're quite objective and you recognize this is the evil and you're a bit removed from it, it's easy to identify it and connect it to its source. When you're entangled in it, when it's got you in its clutches and you've listened to it and you've followed it, so then it's much harder. It's not so bad. It's not evil. And you start to justify things that are evil. And so it's going to take a lot more work to identify and to remove yourself from it. That takes a deeper davening experience where you really contemplate who am I? Who is my Yetzer Hara? What is dragging me the wrong way? How can I separate myself from it? And then realize its source. So the davening will be a lot harder work. So therefore, in the first temple times, when they were on a holier level, evil was not so entrenched, so they didn't need as much davening with so much energy. They were able to bring the evil to its source through the karbanos, the sacrifices. And that was enough. The sacrificial service was taking an animal, bringing it onto the altar of Hashem. That would be elevating the animal to Hashem, bringing physicality into spirituality. Just having that done in the temple, and every now and then people would go and watch that and experience it and see it. That was enough. That was enough for them to elevate their negativity, their Yetzer Hara. Avo b'bayis sheni, in the second temple times, however, hischilu l'saken tefillah. They started davening a bit more. It was a short davening. It was a short davening according to the amount of negativity that was entrenched in them and what they had to work with. They were on a lower level in the first temple times. There wasn't as much revelation, so they had to daven more. But it was still short davening. But we need a lot of davening. Bislavas moed with a lot of energy. The siddur that we have has all these additions. If you think about it, originally there was the Shema. That was it. Then they enacted the Shemana Esrei, the Amidah. Okay, so you got the Shema and the Shemana Esrei. Then there's the Psukei de Zimra, the preambles and the blessings before the Shema and after the Shema. And then there's the reading the Karbanos and then the morning blessings. And then there's the Akedah. And afterwards, we got a whole long Siddur. And then in later generations, they added more. And we also have to say Tilim. And then we also have to learn before davening some Chassidus, and we have to contemplate. And davening has become longer. Why? Because we need more contemplation, more work to uproot the negativity. We've gone down to a lower place. That's our mission. Our mission is to be in a lower generation, to bring out more light from the darkness. Remember, the whole purpose is to turn bitterness into sweet, darkness into light. That's what we're here for. So in the first temples, they were in a world of light. Second temple, a bit lower. Each generation has gone lower and lower and has to work on it even more. So to every generation goes lower and lower and has to daven even more powerful. Yeah, and so we had the Baal Shem Tov and the Alter Rebbe and all these people who taught us how to daven because we're in the dark generations. This is not because we're higher than the previous generations. On the contrary, we have to go down into a lower place of negativity because negativity is stronger. And we have to separate through a major fire and passion of davening to purify the negativity within ourselves and to bring it to its source, commercial ben Melech in a canal, like the metaphor of the prostitute and the prince. We have to contemplate in our davening whatever negative I have in myself and whatever negative I'm experiencing in my life. Its source, its life force is from Hashem. It's from holiness. It's from goodness. That's where it's coming from. Because without Hashem, nothing can exist. It's Hashem who gives it life. If that's the case, if I can see that, if I can understand that, there is no such thing as evil. And so too, all the pain or suffering that I'm going through in this world, material things happening to me and around me. When you contemplate deeply into this idea that it's all from Hashem and Hashem is good, so therefore it's all from the good, then the negativity just melts away. On the highest level, this is experienced like Nachamish Gamzu. That it actually translates into good. For many of us, we're going to still experience the negative, but at least the sting is taken away from it, that we know that ultimately this is good, is all from Hashem. But it's still going to be hard. For someone like Nachamish Gamzu, it actually became good. Because Gam Kola Tzadikim Hayal Derech Zeh, all Tzadikim of Nachamish Gamzu's time, they all believed that everything comes from Hashem. He was able to change the reality from above to below, that the source, which is good, should be translated into good down here. That it should actually be seen in Gashmias, in the material, physical world, that it's good. That's why he was called Gamzu L'Tova. Zu means this. This is good. You can point to the good. Not just in theory it's good, but this is good. This that's happening to me is good. That was the uniqueness of Nachamish Gamzu. We can't all be on that level, but we can agree that he's right, that it's true, that all comes from Hashem and all is ultimately from goodness. Top of the next column, the second line. Avol kol tzadikim afilu shoyim achshavtum al zeh haderech. Other tzadikim, other than Nachamish Gamzu, even though their thoughts were the same as him, they agreed with his philosophy. Hayanisha lemaila, the goodness stayed above. It didn't get translated down here. That the goodness was not experienced. Nachamish Gamzu was a tzaddik that was able to bring it down. The rest of us, the good might stay up there. It's beyond us, but we know it's there. With all this, we can understand what we started with, the snake. This is the idea of this copper snake. Again, the Jewish people, because they complained about the food and about the water and what was going on in their lives, all these bad things happening, they're not enjoying it. They're feeling they were giving in to the Yetzer Hara, to the evil inclination. So they were attacked by snakes. Snakes came and started biting them. So they came to Moshe and said, "What do we do?" And Moshe asked Hashem. Hashem said, "Make a copper snake on top of a stick, and everyone should look up to it. And looking at the snake, staring at it, you'll live. You'll be healed." What is this? Black magic? What is this? So now we can understand what's going on here in a very deep way. The copper serpent was this. It had to be put on top of a pole. The idea of the pole was putting the snake up high, putting this figure of a snake up high. And the people would look upwards. They would stare upwards. What does it mean, stare upwards? The message was the people, you're being bitten by a snake down here. Ow, it's hurting me. There's a poisonous snake that's biting me. Don't think that this snake down here is a separate entity somehow that doesn't have a divine source. That there's Hashem and there's good on one side, and then there's this snake, this evil on the other side that's hurting me, that's biting me. Don't think that way. And therefore, this is really bad and this is really evil. That's not how it is. Because if you think that way, then evil stays evil. Contemplate on the snake biting you down here as a snake up there in heaven. It's divine source. It's coming from Hashem. It's not separate from Hashem, and it hasn't got a separate life force. It's life force is from Hashem. Well, derech mashal hazonim ben hamelech. It's just like the prostitute. She's not this evil woman coming out of the night to seduce you. She's your father's employee who's coming to test you. She's got a job and she's doing her job. She's fulfilling Hashem's will, the king's will. She's doing what she's supposed to do. And she deep down does not want you to listen to her. So too the snake that's attacking you, the Yetzer Hara that is causing you to sin, and the evil that is as a result of it happening to you. This is not the other side. This is not the other side of holiness, the opposite. It's coming from Hashem. Hashem sent you the evil inclination that tempted you to complain. And then that complaint translated into snakes that are biting you, the negativity that you've caused and brought about in the world that is coming. All this is to bring you closer to Him. That's what it's really there for. There's no other side. So instead of complaining about the snake down on the floor, look upwards and see the snake in its source, see where it comes from. And the snake here in this example represents not only the punishment, which is the snake that's biting you and causing you pain, but it's also the inner snake, the Yetzer Hara that caused the problem in the first place. That the fact that I have a Yetzer Hara, does that mean I'm a rotten person? No, I was created that way. Hashem wants me to have a Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Hara is from Him. He wants me to be tempted to do the wrong thing, to have these weaknesses within my character. It's all from Him. Why? Because He wants me to overcome that. Because by overcoming that, I transform darkness into light. I recognize that not only holiness is holy, but even unholiness is innately holy, is ultimately holy. It's from Hashem. I'm transforming negativity into positive. But that takes contemplation. I have to think that through. I have to look up and stare at the snake up here. Don't look down at the snake. Look up at the snake. The snake's coming from there, from the heavens. And so if you think through that, so then no bad comes from above. No bad comes from Hashem. There's nothing bad in Hashem, and Hashem doesn't send anything bad. Nothing is really bad. Again, I may experience it as bad down here because I'm not on a level to fully connect it. But ultimately, it's not bad. It's not negative. And I need to contemplate that and feel it as to the greatest extent that I can. Sometimes that will translate, like Nachavish Gamzu, into transforming the reality down here. Sometimes not. Sometimes I will experience just the negative for now, but I know that it's not bad things happening. It's a negative experience because there's a higher light that I'm not privy to. I'm not connecting to at the moment, and that takes away at least the pain. And he concludes, "V'lachein haya nechoshes," and that's why this snake was made out of copper, specifically. If you look carefully, Hashem didn't say to make a copper serpent. Moshe made it copper. Shemishtanim lekama gavonim ayidei ayin, because copper has this property to it that it can change colors. There's a color copper, but when you heat it up or you bend it, you look at it at different angles. So there's a yellowness and there's a blueness and there's a redness and there's all different colors that it's one color, but it can transform. It's got this ability to transform. It's not so defined. And this is through a certain nothingness that copper represents, a nothingness that is before the somethingness. Down here is somethingness where things are defined, there's good and there's evil. But in the nothingness where it comes from, anything could be anything. What's negative can be transformed into positive. So that transformative nature of the copper, the color of copper, was fitting. Moshe said, "That's why I'm going to make the snake out of copper, because what this contemplation is supposed to be, the negative down here should transform to a different color when you observe it above, when you contemplate its source, its ultimate source." V'amevin yovin, and he ends, he who understands, understands. So let's try and internalize this and make this real for ourselves for a few moments. So if you want, you can close your eyes and get into a zone where we're going to try and visualize this mimer. As we sit here, we have a lot of stuff going on inside of us. There is that part of us that is very happy to be learning Torah, doing something good, something holy. But there's another side to us, a side to us that resists this, that tries with every excuse not to do something holy. Too busy, I've got other things I need to do. There's no time now. It's a waste of time. All different excuses or reasons why not to do a mitzvah, not to learn Torah, not to be in a state of connectedness and holiness. That voice is mine. It's internal. It's me. It's like my little snake, my internal snake. And it sometimes convinces me to behave wrongly, say the wrong thing, do the wrong thing, think bad thoughts. But my first step is to just recognize that. I have it. I have this voice. It's mine. It's inside me. It's a part of me. But it's not me. It's not my true self. My true self is my neshama, my divine self, that was sent down into this world, not for itself. My neshama was fine before I came down. My neshama was sent down to work on this snake, to work on this lower side of myself, to transform, to turn around, to convert that darkness into light or that bitterness into sweetness. Every time I say no to the snake, I do the right thing even though I'm not in the mood, or I withstand the temptation to do wrong and say no, even though it seems so enticing. Every time I do that, I turn around a little bit of bitterness into sweetness and a bit of darkness into light. This is what I'm here for. And so too, when I go through sometimes a snake bite, when something in my life is happening that is unpleasant, this is also from Hashem. This moment is being sent to me so I can somehow bring some sweetness out of that bitterness. I can transform a bit of negativity in the world by recognizing its holy and ultimately good source. So I can think of a situation where I feel there's a snake biting at my heels. There's something annoying me, hurting me. And I wish it would just go away. But if I think a little bit deeper, if I daven on this point, that Hashem is the source of everything, including that snake. That snake biting at my heel, if I, in my mind, lift it heavenward, hold it up in my mind to find its source, that it's coming from above. It's coming from Hashem. He sent it. Even if that snake was my own doing, even if I brought it upon myself, it's still from Hashem. And it's not a snake underneath me trying to drag me down. It's really a snake above me trying to lift me up. I have an opportunity to dig deeper, to find deeper faith, to find a positive silver lining in the negative. To find inner strength that I didn't know I had. It may still hurt, but it's not a punishment. It's an invitation to go higher. And so in those moments when I am davening and I'm feeling connected, I need to bring the snake into that. I need to recognize that my inner snake, the inner Satan that is tempting me to do wrong, and the external snakes, the things that seem to be getting in my way and pulling me down. It's all from Hashem. And there's nothing bad that comes from Hashem. And so my soul has the strength to connect the snake down here with the snake up there, divine source of this challenge that I'm in. And to see the goodness in it. Okay. Any thoughts, questions? I hope there's a lot of questions because it's a very hard concept.
Am I allowed to ask a question?
Yeah.
To break everybody's concentration. I hear what you're saying. I hear the interpretation. One question. Why would he make this world so full of glory to bring evil? Because you say it all starts Hashem. He's got an idea to teach me a lesson. And then look at the show. How can you explain it? Oh, well, his Jews were scattered and he needed to bring them together. You can find a human understanding. But he made us in his image with beauty, and that with such depravity you can't sometimes even think about it. What's the achievement? I mean, I hear when you say out of whatever he does is for the good. But that was more than even the mind can absorb on such a scale.
Yeah, so we can't explain, we can't understand. If we could, we'd be Hashem. We'd be Hashem. If we could explain it, we'd be Him. We can't explain it. That's not even our job to explain it.
With the serpents, with the snakes that were biting, so when they looked up and they were able to recognize where the actual source was, did anything change with, I mean, other than stop biting, is there any good that you could actually see?
They were healed. Like a snake had bitten them, they were poisoned by the snakes. But when they looked up, they were healed from the snake bite.
There's something extra positive and nothing. First place.
Well, the realization that my negative and my snake is to strengthen me as for healing, not for a negative purpose. That was what this experience brought them. That it's not the snake's biting me and something else is healing me. It's the source of the snake is healing.
But you have to look in a different direction.
Yeah, you have to look up and you have to stare. You have to stare into this. You have to contemplate this deeply.
Complaining what? Sorry, I'm
Yeah.
They were complaining
About the food and the water.
Does
Does that mean also as the copper transforms